Last night, the Giants displayed some of the great defense that's been their trademark in recent years. That glove work, combined with a bend but don't break performance by the pitching staff, gave the Giants a hard-earned win over the Tigers. Today, a quick turnaround, and the Giants look for a series win with their ace Johnny Cueto on the mound. It's Cueto up against the Tigers. The finale of the road trip coming up next. A perfect day for baseball in downtown Detroit. The Giants and the Tigers, the rubber match of the 3-game series. Welcome to NBC Sports Bay Area, powered by Xfinity. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller with Brian Johnson. Dwayne Kuiper and Mike Krukow on assignment. They'll be back in the booth tomorrow night in San Francisco. Johnny Cueto, just moments ago, it was announced, has been scratched from this game. So Cueto will not be making this start as originally planned. And Chris Stratton, who spent most of the year with the Giants AAA affiliate in Sacramento, is the emergency starter. Stratton was in for a couple of games earlier this year in an earlier call-up. Brian?
Good opportunity for a young guy. You get lastly, you don't have to worry about the night before that you may be starting because your ace is going for the staff. You get the quick call for a quick game, early game. Oftentimes you see a young guy throw his best stuff on these types of games. Stratton will look to duplicate what Ty Block did last night. Stay away from the Tigers quite a bit, but go inside effectively, and we'll see how that's done today.
All right, so Chris Stratton gets the start for the Giants. Anibal Sanchez will go for the Tigers, a veteran right-hander. Stay tuned now, and we'll take you to our NBC Sports Bay Area studios for an update right after this.
Bay Area is brought to you by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. By Toyota, the full-line automaker with the longest-lasting vehicles in America. Toyota, let's go places. By State Farm. Protect the things you've worked really hard for with auto and renter's insurance. Talk to an agent today. And by the 2017 Jeep Cherokee with an EPA estimated 30 highway miles per gallon.
Some scattered clouds overhead, but another beautiful day here in Detroit. The game time weather presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Get to the beach. The admission-free boardwalk is open daily. 83 degrees. Just a slight little bit of a wind. It's blowing into the ballpark from center field, and 40% humidity, which is pretty low for this part of the country this time of the year. Ideal baseball weather. The Giants batting order now brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Denard Span is back in there, center field. Joe Panik is back in second base. Pence the DH. Posey behind the plate with Cueto scheduled to pitch. They wanted Posey in there, but he'll be catching the rookie Stratton instead. Belt at first, Wong at third, and he's been sensational with the glove in this series. Crawford at short, Slater in left, and Hernandez is the right fielder against Anibal Sanchez, veteran right-hander who's been mounting a comeback here the last few starts.
He sure has. Started off as a starter this season. Has been primarily a starter throughout his career. Actually a very effective starter for the Tigers. Really struggled this year, giving up the long ball quite a bit. Went down to AAA to work on his stuff after being demoted to the bullpen. Has now kind of refound his touch. Back in the starting rotation. Had 3 starts, has been outstanding. Had to redefine himself a little bit, but really is pitching well lately.
1 ball and no strikes to Denard Span. Into shallow left field. And there is Upton. And that's the first out. Tigers defensively, starting in the outfield, it's from left to right, Upton, Presley, and J.D. Martinez. And from third to first on the infield, Castellanos. Machado is the shortstop. Kinsler at second. Avila, who normally catches, is at first. And McCann behind the plate. Miguel Cabrera is the designated hitter for the Tigers today. Joe Panik called strike 1. Now, we're told that since coming back from the minor leagues, he's kind of simplified everything. Primarily throwing a fastball, and he can do different things with the fastball. And he also throws what he calls the mariposa. And I guess we've seen a mariposa before, but maybe he just has a different name for it.
I think so. There's Anibal Sanchez has been notorious for having 4 or 5 different pitches.
Here's Kinsler. Off the bag, but the tag is applied by Avila.
Sanchez has been notorious for having several different pitches. Does he throw a split or does he throw a changeup? He's really simplified that by bringing in the mariposa, as you said, which is a big ephus pitch type of changeup. Really a change of pace for him. He had to redefine himself. Previously was a power pitcher, similar to the transition Matt Cain has had to make. He's found that touch now, Anibal Sanchez has, and is really a different guy. If you're facing him for the first time in a couple of years, which the Giants are, they're going to have to look at him a little bit differently.
Ball 1 to Hunter Pence. Pence, who's knocked in 9 runs on this road trip in the first 5 games, including 3 last night, and that's over the outside edge. 1 ball, 1 strike. You see his numbers in 5 starts against the Giants in regular season play, and he's had a lot of success against the Giants. Right at the knees, strike 2 call.
Before he came to the Tigers, he was with the Miami Marlins, did well down there also as a starter. So he's had quite a bit of National League experience as well as American League experience at this point.
33 years old, from Maracay, Venezuela. Pence is still in there ready. Pence 8 for 20 lifetime, a .400 average against Sanchez. And that's down and away. And right now, I guess we don't have any radar gun working in the ballpark. On the scoreboard even, they don't give the pitch speeds at the moment. Pence lunging for that soft one and pops it foul into the crowd.
I think that was the Mariposa right there. Change up, a very, very slow change up. You can see with Hunter Pence getting way out in front on that pitch. That's his new wrinkle. We'll see how it works the rest of the day.
2-2 the count. 2 down, nobody on. Buster Posey on deck. And that's off the outside. That had a little break on it like a slider. 3-2. That is just foul. Another off-speed delivery there.
You know, when you talk about redefining yourself as a pitcher, Detroit is a good place to be. Frank Tanana was probably the most historic guy, along with Tommy John after his surgery. But Frank Tanana was a guy that had to redefine himself, become a soft thrower, deceptive guy versus a power guy. And he's still around today in the community and really had an amazing career.
And that's all for Hunter Pence. A 3-up, 3-down first inning for Sanchez. Now Chris Stratton about to make his first major league start. From Comerica Park, and let's take a look at the Tigers batting order. Brought to you by Southwest. Ian Kinsler will be at second base. Alex Avila at first base. Justin Upton left field. Miguel Cabrera, the designated hitter. J.D. Martinez in right. Castellanos at third. Presley in center. McCann, the catcher, hitting eighth. And Dixon Machado in for Iglesias, who gets a day of rest. And there is Chris Stratton, 26-year-old right-hander, making his first major league start, although he's been in a few games, both last year and again this year, out of the bullpen for the Giants.
Big day for the young guy. Got a good arm, good breaking balls, good breaking stuff as well. He's going to have to use both sides of the plate today, but with a lot of fastballs. You got to really establish that fastball, work off of it, and keep the Tigers off balance, as the Giants have done the first 2 games of this series.
Ian Kinsler leads off, and he's too high with a fastball. Stratton was not exactly tearing it up in AAA for Sacramento. You saw his earned run average way over 5. And he blew that fastball right by him. And the fastball, what we've seen earlier this year and in spring training, around 93 miles an hour. So that's nowadays that's about an average fastball, or maybe a little bit above average.
Exactly right.
And the curveball misses.
Seems
2-1.
Every team has guys coming out of the pen throwing 97, 98, not just one, but several. And the game has really evolved and developed, and really, from a pitching standpoint, the power arms are amazing.
Wong got a fast runner going here. Out, number 1. The Giants defense now starting in the outfield with Slater, Span, And Gorkis Hernandez from left to right. Around the infield from third to first. Jae-Gyun Wong. Then Crawford at short, Panic at second, Belt at first. Posey back in behind the plate, and Stratton doing the pitching. That's got to be big in your first major league start, and to get that first guy out.
Real big. Had a tough time with the first breaking ball, but his fastball had good life to it. Kept it in the zone. Veteran guy in Kinsler, the backbone of this team, as their leadoff hitter, got him out. You're right. That's a big plus for the young guy.
So here is Avila, and he throws him a called strike. Giants are overloaded on the right side of the infield. 3 infielders over there, including Joe Panic, who's now in the outfield, 25 feet or so into the outfield. And now Wong, the third baseman, moves all the way over to shortstop, so nobody's at third. Off the inside for a ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Avila having an excellent first half, hitting .305 with 11 home runs. He has a .981 OPS. If you're not familiar with that, take my word for it. That's amazing. Right into the defense. Crawford playing the second base position. 2 down.
Keys for the game. Nissan keys for the game for the Giants today against Anibal Sanchez. We're going to have to sit on soft stuff. They're going to have to adjust their thinking. Typically, a lot of these guys have seen Anibal Sanchez before as a power guy. They're going to have to look in fastball counts. Look for the possibility of something soft, a changeup or a breaking ball. On top of that, as we're watching here, a young rookie making his first starting for the first time. Excuse me. Stratton's going to have to be aggressive. He hadn't had a chance to worry about his start all night. He gets in there the last minute's notice. Oftentimes, that'll be a benefit for a young guy. Just get out there, be aggressive, be an athlete, and react to the situation.
A ball and a strike now to Justin Upton. Upton, who's the Tigers' home run and RBI leader. 15 homers, 54 batted in. He's got an .860 OPS, which is all by itself very good. There's a pop foul back out of play. OPS is simply taking the on-base percentage and adding it to the slugging percentage, and then you got voila, OPS, and it's just kind of a shorthand.
It is shorthand.
A GM could take a quick look and say that guy's having a pretty good season, or not very good, or below average, or whatever. They use a lot more sophisticated numbers within the front office.
That's right.
The numbers crunchers and whatnot, and usually they're proprietary numbers. Each team generally has some numbers that are unique to them that they use to evaluate players for various reasons. That one skips to the backstop. Now it's a full count.
And you're right. It's a new part of the game. The development of the analytics of the numbers describing the games through numbers versus words has really benefited the game, impacted the game quite a bit. The OPS, though, for me, you're right. Shorthand's the right way to describe it. It doesn't tell me enough. I want to know, is he getting on base? I want to know what type of hits he's getting, and the power numbers, that will tell me more. So I'd rather see both the numbers versus just the one OPS number.
Well, the Giants appealed on that check swing, but no, said Mike Malinsky, the first base umpire. So it's a walk to Justin Upton, and now Miguel Cabrera will come up. So you go from the Pacific Coast League, starting in Sacramento, Raleigh Field, and now you're facing one of the great hitters in the game today, Miguel Cabrera, in a big league ballpark. That's quite a jump.
Quite a jump. Pitching is a difficult craft in and of itself, but you put this type of talent, this type of team against you in your first outing, it's going to be tough. But when you got talent, you can handle that kind of stuff.
And he snaps off the breaking ball for a called strike.
That's the best one we've seen from Stratton today so far. Really sharp. You get his slider going too, along with the fastball that's had some good life today. Some good things can happen here.
Upton at first, and he's a threat to run. He's got excellent speed. And that's called strike 2. Another good one.
Starting with the big bender, come back with the slider. A nice 1-2 punch there.
On to the count to Miguel Cabrera, the DH for the Tigers today. 0-0. 2 down. Cabrera hitting .266 for the year with 11 home runs. The runner going. Buster's throw is too late.
Good throw by Buster there. Stratton took a little bit too much time focusing on the hitter, on Cabrera. Wasn't quite quick enough to the plate. Really concentrated on making a good pitch. Buster did everything he could. Good release, good clean release, good throw with lots of carry to second base. Didn't quite have a chance to get him on that one.
So now just a base hit could mean a run here. And he fights it off along the right field line into the crowd. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
1-1. You got the cleanup hitter with a defensive swing and a 1-1 count. As a young guy, that's got to give you some confidence in the short term as well. He's got to make a good pitch here. He's way ahead of him. Fastball up in the zone might be a good one, or maybe come back with that same pitch, the slider away, see if he can get a ground ball or maybe even a punch out.
One and 2. Oh, just off the glove of Buster Posey.
Nice pitch.
I remember years ago, Joe Garagiola, the late Joe Garagiola, who ended up being a great broadcaster. There it is. And he said a woman once came up to him and said, you know, maybe you should practice catching those foul tips a little more. You seem to drop a lot of them. So, no, it's not something that they practice. And how would you?
That's right.
Right up the middle. Cabrera has knocked in the first run of the game as Upton crosses. 1-0 Detroit. That walk and then the steal and then Cabrera, and you knew he was going to put the ball in play somehow.
Throwing some good sliders, came back, tried to change the pace with a big breaking ball here with 2 strikes. Stayed up a little too high. Good job of hitting by Cabrera, staying short, not trying to do too much with it. He knows a base hit's going to score him. Good wheels at second base. Nice job of hitting by Cabrera.
And not that he hit it particularly well, just a ground ball, but right through the middle. Was that steal a huge play? And J.D. Martinez with a mighty cut. 0-1.
So ground has been broken here. A run against the young guy. This next hitter, probably their best hitter on the team. This is going to be an important at bat. Even though it's early in the game, it's important at bat for Stratton to get the out right here, stop the bleeding.
Little fister at second, and Panic gets the force out on Cabrera. A run for the Tigers, though. Posey, Belt, and Wong coming up for the Giants. and company. And Sunday there will be the parade to the park. Jeffrey Leonard, Lucille, the G team will also be part of that parade. Meet outside the Ferry Building at 11:30 Sunday morning, and then parade to the ballpark from there. Visit sfgiants.com/parade to the park for more info. Here's Buster Posey leading off. A low strike from Sanchez.
A little too low for me there. I'm with you, Buster.
And every hitter in the game said the same thing. And every pitcher saying that's a good pitch.
That's right.
0-2. Posey hitting .331. Tigers have been tough on him, although he hit the ball hard his first at bat yesterday into an out, and they gave him the automatic walk twice and drilled him once. And he has not had a hit in the series. 0 for 6. Back out of play toward the press box. 0-2. 1-0. The Tigers lead the Giants in the second. Brandon Belt is on deck. Jae-Gyun Wong due up third in the inning.
Posey's doing a good job of protecting play. He's not hasn't had a chance to drive the ball in the series because most of the time he's been has seen balls come to him. I still like where he's at.
Rips it into center, and Presley. One away. So he's hit a couple of balls very hard, but Adam balls, including that first at bat last night to right field.
That's right. I'll take that. Those will fall for you eventually.
Here comes Brandon Belt now. And the Tigers go into the big overshift, although with Belt having laid down a couple of bunts here lately for hits, they're keeping the third baseman over in the vicinity of third base. Shortstop is the position that's unmanned at the moment.
And that's what it takes with a lot of these shifts. Just show a bunt once or twice and they'll change everything they're doing on defense. The Tigers know what Belt has done. They're aware of the fact that he laid one down. So therefore they've changed your defense on him.
There's Martinez out in right center. 2 down.
I guess my point being is that hitters oftentimes try to hit through the shift instead of adjusting, letting the ball travel a little bit more and trying to go the other way. The key to beating a shift is just go the other way one time, even twice. That will be enough to defeat the shift. Oftentimes a team will make the adjustment just after that little number of hits going the other way. They'll make the adjustment.
Now Jae-Gyun Wong, strike one called. Wong, the idea on Wong was he was a good hitter in the KBO, the Korean Major League. That is foul, but his defense has been a revelation in this series. Some examples from last night.
Really good feet, great arm, great accuracy when he gets off the ground. That's a tough play right there. Made it the first night, going to his left. He was out here today, early today. We saw him working on his feet again with Jose Alguacil. Constantly working on your craft. That's a good sign for the young guy.
And he's a young guy in terms of Major League experience. Yeah. Just got here a little over a week ago, but he is 29 years old, and it was an established star in the South Korean KBO.
That's right. And what's most important is he plays like a young guy. He plays with the energy. He plays with athleticism. Great feet. Runs pretty well. And when you look at him, you don't see a guy you don't say, hey, he's a 30-year-old. No, you say, hey, he runs around like he's 24, 25.
And he truly is living the dream right now. He gave it all up over there, including a good salary, to sign a minor league contract with the Giants with the idea that he could make it ultimately to the big leagues. And here he is, homered in his first game last week. Right to Kinsler. That was a shot. So a little bad luck there for Wong. 1-0 Detroit. Last of the second coming up. It was Game 4, 2012 World Series. Marco Scutaro, base hit. Ryan Theriot heading home, and that proved to be the winning run. The Giants went ahead in the 10th, and Sergio Romo got the save in the last of the 10th. What a moment for Ryan Theriot.
Marco Scutaro.
Scutaro was just a big star down the stretch that year as Castellanos, a gapper, and that ball sticks in under the wall. Castellanos to third. A triple. They might have had a chance to keep it from going for 3, but there was no care in the ball, just kind of lodged in under the padding out there.
Yeah, Stratton left the ball right over the plate. First pitch. One of the things maybe would be a drawback for Stratton. He didn't get to study the lineup. Castellanos is a notorious first ball fastball hitter. That's what he got here. Drilled it to the gap for a triple.
This is the close-up on Castellanos, and I think he had the play right in front of him. He was going for 3 all the way. There's a pop-up foul, and might have stopped at second if the ball had hit the wall and come back to Span, which it never did.
No, it didn't.
And not unusual for Castellanos. You don't think of him as a triples guy, but he's got 6 triples, and he leads the American League in that category. This is a ballpark to hit triples in.
Exactly right. And that's what I was going to say. Is the guy that's not fighting the ballpark, he's not trying to go deep. He's using the whole field, and that's what a guy that's not particularly fast going to get some triples.
Over the head of Joe Panic. Castellanos in to score. Presley knocks him in, and it is 2-0 Detroit. Presley with his 6th RBI of the year.
Time for a little adjustment with Stratton. Missing out over the plate, which are good pitches, good strikes technically, but here at this level, especially with this team, you got to hit the corners. You got to keep it down, keep it in the corners, change your speeds, be deceptive.
So here's James McCann. 208 average, but a lot of power. He's got 9 home runs and only 144 official at bats. So that's 1 home run every 16 at bats. That's pretty powerful. Ball 1.
I would look for Presley here to take a shot at stealing. Got a young guy. He's focused on getting out of this inning. 2 hard hit balls to begin the inning. He's concentrating on the hitter. A good time for a base stealer to take advantage of it and try to sneak one out. Good pitch.
2-0. Stratton, who was signed by the Giants, he was a 1st-round draft choice 5 years ago in the free agent player draft, and he came out of Will Clark's alma mater, Mississippi State. Consensus first-team All-American. He was the 20th player chosen in the draft that year. He's been making his way through the Giants farm system ever since. Salem Kaiser, Augusta, San Jose, Richmond, straight up 1 level to the next. And then got to Sacramento the second half 2 years ago. And again last year and this year. That's a strike now to McCann. 3-1.
Good baseball school at Mississippi State. They've been producing good players since Will Clark up until present day. Obviously with Stratton too, but a lot of good baseball down there. Always has been.
Stratton got into a couple of games earlier this year out of the bullpen for the Giants. Not with much success either. That's back to the screen. 3-2 the count. He had 2 games and gave up 5 runs in 3 1/3 innings all told. 12 starts at Sacramento this year. 3 wins, 5 losses, and a 5.71 earned run average. He got a win last year, his first major league win, which will make a Giants fan smile. His first major league win was against the Dodgers. Okay, well done. I don't know if Belt dropped that one or if it got past him and hit the runner, but he has to track it down. 3-2. So Presley has not run so far, Brian, but I'm going to ask you if you think he's going to run now.
He's thinking about it. I think he's waiting for the right time. I think now full count might be the right time to do it.
Machado is on deck. There he goes. And a foul ball right past Dave Clark, the third base coach. Omar Vizquel, the former Giant, coaching over at first base.
Legendary pair of hands. When he first came up, not a great hitter, Omar Vizquel. But over the course of his career, became a really good hitter. And for those really good Cleveland teams, just
that's where his offense really started to blossom when he got to Cleveland with a great lineup around him.
All those guys could hit.
He had Kenny Lofton, who was a top leadoff man in the league at that time. And Omar said, well, Lofton would get on base, he'd bunt or whatever, he'd steal second, and then I'd bunt. And I'd at least get him to third, or sometimes I'd beat it out. The runner goes again, the ball is fouled. Still 3-2, and again Presley would I turn around and go back to first. He said it was kind of a can't lose proposition for a hitter.
Right.
He'd either get the sacrifice and no time at bat, or he'd get the bunt hit. Either way, it was like, good work, Omar.
Right. And those guys were so good. They were able to play the small ball. They had some speed along with tremendous power. They played good defense.
Well, they put three guys like that at the top with Lofton and then Vizquel and then Roberto Alomar, who's a Hall of Famer. Runner goes. Here's Posey's throw. It's high. And a steal for Presley. Now the smart play brought to you by your California Ford dealers. This was Omar Vizquel. And he was with the Giants for 4 seasons and won 2 Gold Gloves as a Giant. And he also once stole home, a straight steal of home. Omar Vizquel, a great defensive shortstop, and in my mind should be in the Hall of Fame. Now the Giants are complaining. I think Buster Posey felt that the hitter, after he swung and missed, obstructed Buster in his ability to make that throw to second. Came out of the batter's box.
Can we review that with the video? Is that reviewable?
It doesn't look like it.
I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Look at the hitter.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely hit him with the backswing on the bat and the shoulder.
Well, that part should be reviewable, shouldn't it?
I would think so.
So watch the backswing now.
Right.
Boom.
There. Well, it didn't look quite as bad on that one. The other angle looked worse. I don't know. Maybe it didn't.
I put a boom in there. Didn't you hear it? 1 ball and no strikes now to Dixon Machado. The Tigers have stolen a couple of bases now. What happens if the catcher gets hit on a backswing like that? The ball is immediately dead, and if there was any advancement by a base runner, he's got to turn around and go back to the original base.
That's right. Even if he's 6 inches from second base, the fact that he has not touched the base yet makes him have to go back to the original position or the original base that he started the play at. The old dead ball rule.
Machado hits one deep, way back there in left field. It is long gone. Over the bullpen into the bleachers. So Dixon Machado goes yard. That's his first home run.
1-1 count. Young guy facing a young guy. Fastball again out over the plate. Able to get the ball up in the air. Again, not a horrible pitch. It's a strike. It's on the inside part of the plate. But Machado was looking fastball on that point, was able to turn on and get it up in the air and really put a good beat on it.
Machado had been up for brief parts of the last 2 seasons and also part of this season, but that's the first time in any season that he's ever hit a home run in the big leagues.
Really good defensive player, defensive shortstop, been stuck behind Iglesias, hadn't had a chance to come up and play a whole lot. Big hit for the young guy.
Now that ball is hit deep by Kinsler. Left center and caught by Slater after a long run. That's where the ballpark opens up. It's about 390 feet to the power alley, to the gap out there in left center.
I like the Stratton's not getting distracted. 4 runs they've gotten on him. He's still throwing first pitch strike. He's throwing his breaking ball in there for a strike, keeping his fastball pumping in there. I like it. Be aggressive, stay aggressive. Don't worry about the runs. He's doing fine. He's just going through a typical adjustment at the big league level. Keep throwing your pitches. Do the best you can. Stay out there as long as you can. And good things will happen.
So here is Alex Avila. First ball swinging. Deep left. Slater has room on this one. That ball really started to slice. But he's got it. The Tigers now have a 4-0 lead as we move to the third. Brandon Crawford coming up.
Summer concert presented by Lagunitas. Pre-game live music from the Peelers starting at 5 p.m. $7 Lagunitas beer specials and a dynamic deal ticket offer. Excuse me. All are welcome to this free event in the Seals Plaza. Visit sfgiants.com/dynamic deal.
A Giants fan here in Detroit on a lazy summer day. Brandon Crawford leads off against Aníbal Sanchez. He takes a called strike. 4-0. The Tigers are leading now. I'm John Miller, and Brian Johnson, longtime Major League catcher, is here with us with Dwayne Kuiper and Mike Krukow, both on assignment. They'll be back tomorrow night in the booth at AT&T Park. And there's ball 1 to Crawford, 1 ball and 1 strike. Crawford looking for a hit. He's only had 2 hits the whole road trip. 2 for 22. That sounded like a broken bat.
Yeah, it did.
And they hit it off his foot. Then a foul ball as soon as it hit his foot. Then he gets a new piece of wood from the bat boy.
Crawford,
1 ball, 2 strikes.
Crawford's battling up there. He's trying to lay out the bad pitches, swing at good pitches, trying to be aggressive. But sometimes you just get in that mode where things aren't falling for you. He's hit a couple balls hard this series. See if he can pop out of it here today.
One and 2 the count. And out of play off to the left.
Sometimes all it takes is the bloop somewhere. Broken back single. Texas leaguer over the second baseman's head. That's all it takes sometimes.
All it takes to get a guy going.
That's right.
in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Tomorrow night, Matt Moore up against the Marlins' Dan Straley. 7:15, Orange Friday. And don't forget that Saturday game, a 7:05 start. Samardzija will go for the Giants. We don't know about the Marlins starter for Saturday. And Sunday afternoon, the final game before the break, Kane and Urena. Pulled foul by Crawford. 2-2. Crawford, there was an idea that maybe his swing was a little bit too long. And he worked with Hensley Mullins, the hitting instructor, on shortening up the stroke and simplifying things a little bit. And Crawford said he tried it. And then he had one at bat in a game where he ended up hitting a ground ball. And there's that slow changeup to Mariposa for the strikeout. 2 down. The Giants Insider Podcast is back on NBCSportsBayArea.com, brought to you by Max Muscle. Log on each week as insider Alex Pavlovich talks baseball with players, coaches, special guests, and more. Giants Insider Podcast with Alex Pavlovich on NBCSportsBayArea.com. Also available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. And another soft one in there for a strike to Austin Slater. Anyway, Crawford said after he grounded out, he thought he should have done more with that pitch, and said, oh, the heck with it, I'm just going to go back to what feels right for me. Hit a home run here in Detroit in the first game. A dramatic 7th inning home run that tied the game. But that's been the only hit he's had in these 3 games in Detroit.
And that's a great illustration of the process that you go through as a hitter who's struggling. You're thinking it's mechanical. It's got to be mechanical. I feel good. I'm seeing it good. It's got to be mechanical. So you start playing with things, trying to do things to make it different. You go to Hensley Mullins and say, hey, I don't feel good about this. What do you think we should do? You go in there, you tinker a little bit with it. But oftentimes, it's either you swinging at good pitches or you're swinging at bad pitches. And if you can simplify it there, despite the fact you're frustrated, that's the key to getting out of a slump. Much easier said than done.
Strike 3 call. So Slater gets rung up by Marty Foster.
Fastball here, 4-seamer trying to nip the outside part of the plate. Sanchez done a really good job of mixing his pitches up here today. He's got a little more velocity to his fastball than I was anticipating. His velocity has taken a little bit of a downturn from what he used to be, but today he's got pretty good life to it, and I think it's surprising the Giants a little bit.
Marquis Hernandez coming off a 3-hit game last night. Bruce Bochy, I asked him about it. He said, well, hey, the bunt he thought was one of the great plays of the game. And then later he got a hit just because he put a ball in play. And he just barely put it in play.
That's right.
He didn't hit it as well as he hit the bunt earlier on, but got a base hit on it. Little dribbler up the third base side. So maybe not aesthetically pleasing, his at-bats, but 3 hits out of it.
Looks good in the paper the next day.
And a clean single to center here, and he is the Giants' first base runner. First hit for the Giants against Sanchez. The inning stays alive for Denard Span.
Nice job by Hernandez, being aggressive, taking what the game is giving you. Battle yesterday, get a bunt. Today you get a pitch to drive, and he drives it right up the middle. Really good job.
Sanchez been getting a lot of hits here lately. Gorky's now 14 hits in his last 36 at bats. That's a .368 average for more than 2 weeks' time. And of course, sometimes he goes long periods without playing at all.
Sure. Tough to come off the bench and stay sharp. Bench guys are very, very important. Hard to find a reliable one that can play defense, that can steal a base. When you're coming off the bench, you have to be able to provide something to the team. If you run fast, great. If you hit for power, great. That's effective off the bench. But you can also play defense along with one of those 2 traits. You're really going to be valuable to the team.
And he dives safely back to the bag at first.
I would agree with Sanchez. He's throwing over there thinking it might be a good time to run. it's a perfect time to run, similar to what we saw yesterday. Giants are going through two innings into the game, not quite hitting the ball real hard. Sanchez is in a groove, throwing every pitch he wants to for a strike. Let's see if we can put some pressure on him by having him focus on the runner at first base. Maybe take some emphasis off of his focus on the hitter and get Denard to hit a double or a triple here and get the Giants on the board.
And in your experience as a longtime major league catcher, you saw pitchers that weren't as effective if their attention was divided like that?
Exactly right. You can't help it. Just by definition, he's focused on something other than the hitter. Look at John Lester in Chicago at the Cubs. He hates throwing over to first base. It throws him off completely, but he's learned to live with it because he's had still a great career. But
so he just eliminated the throw to first.
Yeah, he didn't care.
The heck with it. Look out.
Yeah.
Well, that hit him. Then immediately Anibal Sanchez was saying, whoa, I think he bunted at it. You better check with the third base umpire.
It's a judgment call there by the umpire. You have to make an attempt to get out of the way, which he did. But still, even if the guy had stood there, the umpire's discretion, or whether it was intentionally getting hit. Wait, did it hit him at all?
I don't think it did hit him. Denard sort of.
He's not saying anything.
Yeah, if you say
Sure,
so. Yeah, sure. Well, man, I'm.
Ow, 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 it hurts.
Okay, let's take a close look here. It got him right. I think it did hit the loose shirt.
Yeah. Hit the six-pack. Just barely skim the six-pack.
That poor shirt has got to be in lots of pain.
That's right.
Panic, deep right center, but getting there in the big part of the yard, Martinez, and that's the inning. Panic gave it a pretty good ride. Just hit it to the wrong place in this yard. Years ago at Miller Park, Milwaukee, Madison Bumgarner got his first major league victory. 8 shutout innings against the Brewers, only 3 hits allowed, 5 strikeouts. He threw 115 pitches, and that was the start, the first win. Madison Bumgarner, who last night made another rehab start in San Jose. The numbers were not pretty. That curveball is hit down the left field line. Upton's going to go for 2. Slater's throw. The tag. Safe. Pretty good throw by Slater.
Really good throw by Slater. Hanging breaking ball. Dumps it over to left field. Slater gets there quickly. Gets a strong, accurate throw. That's pretty darn close.
The Giants are saying, hey, we want to have a quick look at our replay room.
No, he got in there. Looks like he moved his hand around.
Kind of slid by the bag and then reached out.
Panic couldn't tell where he was. He had his back to him. When he turns around expecting a foot to come in there, he's got a hand that he's got to try to catch. Great job of sliding by Upton on that one.
Bruce Bochy, under the advisement of Sean Dunston and Chad Chopp down in the video room in the clubhouse, does not request the replay review. So here comes Miguel Cabrera, who singled home the Tigers' first run. And the foul ball, strike one. Tigers lead 4-0 here in the third. There, it looks like he might have gotten him, but I don't know if you have enough there for an umpire in New York to overturn the call.
Yeah, I think from that angle it looked like he touched him first, but I don't think he did. I think it was an optical illusion. His hand got in there first. Don't believe what you see.
And sometimes that's what it seems like coming back from New York. Well, I know it looked like he got him, but we didn't believe that, so we're going to let it stand. But I think they would have let that one stand. 0-2 the count. Although let me just qualify that by saying I don't have a clue. It's every week there's a new group of umpires in the replay review room in Manhattan.
So
1 ball, 2 strikes.
So here's what we're seeing from Stratton versus Anibal Sanchez. Stratton does not have a changeup, and that's hurt him here today. Coming out of the bullpen, you can go with 2 pitches or just a fastball breaking ball. He's got 2 breaking balls, but you can do that coming out of the pen. As a starter, you need something else to change the tempo, change the eye level, change whatever it is. The changeup is going to be key for that. And Stratton doesn't have that in his repertoire. Conversely, we're seeing from Anibal Sanchez, who doesn't have as much of a fastball as Stratton, but he's got not just one, but he has 2 changeups, one at normal speeds, and then the Mariposa comes out at a really slow speed on top of his breaking ball. There's lots of weapons there to change the eye angle, to change the look of the hitter. Right now, Tigers hitters are looking at one spot, and either the fastball's going their way or the breaking balls are going their way. They don't have to adjust a whole lot.
Cabrera. Another foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And I would imagine this is what Stratton has gone through in AAA, in the PCL. Some good hitters in that league as well. He's doing a good job of having command, of throwing strikes. But what you need, especially at this level, is the fine command. Can I paint it on the outside black, on the inside black? Can I get it up in the zone? That's what he's lacking so far. Hopefully he'll come around and make some adjustments.
Crawford, a long throw. Out. Miguel Cabrera, although he's much trimmer and slimmer than he had been, just not any speed.
Moving along better than he has the first 2 days. Great job by Crawford, deep in the hole. Crawford knows the whole time. He knows who's running. He has time. He can set his feet and make a good, strong throw. It's pretty close. It's closer than I thought at first base. Did he get in there? Nope. Good call.
Mike Malinsky made the call, and that's a great call. This is the ballpark where the guy had the
I was
2
here.
outs, the perfect game.
I was here.
Popped up by J.D. Martinez. Panic. Out number 2. So 2 tough hitters retired here with a runner at second by Stratton. There's Dave Fleming. He'll be moving over here. He's over in the radio booth.
I like the shade. Good look for him.
Cool shirt that he's wearing. And of course the radio booth, real bare bones, didn't have all the luxuries like over here in the TV booth.
Smooth operator.
Nick Castellanos now, who led off the second with a triple, and that started what ended up being a 3-run rally. Tigers lead 4-0. And strike 1.
Nice job on the slider there, similar to how he was throwing that pitch first couple pitches that he threw. Nice break, downward angle, especially first pitch. Castellanos likes that pitch often. Keep it down, let him hit a ground ball or swing through it just like he did.
Johnny Cueto was scratched. We got word not long before game time with an inner ear infection. And so Stratton was the emergency starter for the Giants.
I feel sorry for Johnny. Probably doesn't feel real good, but I'm glad it's that and not something structuring from his elbow or from his shoulder. I'll take an inner ear infection any day.
And that's a ball down and away. 2-1. I've always been a little more partial to maybe a sinus infection, but either way is much better than Tommy John surgery or something wrong with some structural problem in the arm.
Forearm strain is the dubious term.
Now, in our business here, broadcasting a ball game, any of that kind of stuff, sinus infection, little laryngitis, whatever, that's like a bad hamstring pull, or like that puts you on the shelf in this business.
You get a sprained vocal cord?
Yeah, I'm fine. If my elbow is out and I'm in pain in my elbow, fine, no problem. 3-1 the count. And Castellanos draws a walk. This inning started with Upton. He didn't hit the ball all that hard, just a kind of a bloop double along the left field line that he just barely beat out. Slater almost threw him out at second. Then he got two great sluggers, Cabrera on the ground ball to deep short. Excellent play by Crawford, and then J.D. Martinez on a pop-up. But now the walk by Castellanos, and it will bring up Alex Presley.
I would imagine this might be, if he's not able to get Presley, this might be his last hitter. I think Boch is watching him closely. Rags is watching him closely. That at bat was really not what we want to see here. Although that pitch right there was a lot better. But the previous at bat with Castellanos, missed badly with the slider a couple times in the middle of the count. Kind of threw that two-strike breaking ball in the middle of the count. So got behind, eventually got the walk. See if he can battle out of this and get a pop-up, get a weak ground ball, and get to the next inning.
1-1 the count to Presley, who singled home a run his first time. 2 on, 2 out. Strike 2. One and two. Missed badly with that one. That was almost like it doesn't accomplish anything. He's missed by 2 feet from the strike zone.
But it's constructive. He's trying to change the eye level, trying to make adjustments out there. For a young guy, that's a good sign. Make the pitch here. Don't go to 3-2. Make him hit it or strike him out here.
The big chop into right field. Upton heading home. The throw will go to third. Not in time. To second. In time. But the Tigers get a run out of it on the 2-out bounding ball single by Presley. Dave Fleming coming over from the radio side for the 4th.
Sunday, July 9th. Set up camp on the field, play catch in the outfield, and dream of your baseball heroes while sleeping under the stars. Tickets are limited. Don't miss out on this unique experience. Visit sfgiants.com/slumber party for tickets. And we welcome Mr. Dave Fleming to the booth.
Brian, nice to be with you as always. With the Tigers leading 5-0. I don't know whether that picture of the slumber party was from last year. If it was, then somewhere down there the Flemings were on the outfield grass.
I want to go. It sounds like a great night to have some craziness. Let the kids run around a little bit.
Kids ran around. All 5 of us were in one tent.
Oh.
It was a little tight. Hunter Pence leading off for the Giants here in the 4th. 5-0 Tigers, but it is a lot of fun. You set up the tent, you kind of get settled in, go play catch, run around. There's stuff to do. Then it's dinner time. Then it starts to get a little darker, and it's movie time. So then they usually show 2 movies at night. And last year, I think one of them was one of the recent like Disney animated movies. I'm trying to remember whether it was Zootopia, maybe.
Oh, that was a good one.
Zootopia, like very good movie, great movie, Oscar-winning movie.
Yeah.
And then Sandlot. So you got to have a baseball movie in there too.
I like it.
That one up the middle, base hit for Hunter Pence. Well, we'll see if the middle of the order can get the Giants back in this game. It's been a rough 3 innings for Chris Stratton in his first major league start.
It has been. He battled out the last one. Defense picked him up. And here yet again we got Hunter Pence getting something started.
Hunter, who is the designated hitter today, chance to get off his feet in the outfield. His outfield play on this road trip has been great. He made a couple of highlight plays in Pittsburgh. He's made several really good plays here. Posey smashes it foul. Well, that to me, that's been one of the stories of these 3 games. Is Buster Posey's been hitting it hard all over the yard and has almost nothing to show for it.
That's right.
Last night ended up going 0 for 3, was on base 3, or 0 for 2, was on base 3 times, lined out. 4th of July game, he crushed one to right center field. It was caught. And
seeing the ball well, swinging the bat well, seeing good pitches.
Chase there. That was not his best looking swing.
Right when we complimented him, one of those things happened. But I was going to contrast him to going through what Brandon Crawford's going through. Struggling to find that stroke, trying to get something going. Both guys are not getting hits at the moment, but a little bit different scenario with Buster at this point than Crawford. Both of them are battling, trying to break through it and get some hits consistently and get this team going.
0-2 to Posey. And Buster's 3 for 20 on the road trip. It sure has not felt like it. His at-bats have been excellent. On the ground, that could be 2. Kinsler, and Machado dropped it. So it's not 2. They get the out at second, dropped it on the exchange. Pence forced out. Posey replaces him at first base.
Posey's having a tough time with 2 strikes, putting the ball in play firmly. He's doing really well up until 2 strikes. But 2 strikes last night, got a hanging slider over the plate, ground ball to third. Here he gets a decent pitch, but a soft ground ball to second. I'm sure both of those he'd like to have back and see if he can wait on a little bit longer and drive it the other way.
Belt, I thought Belt hit it pretty well his first time up. It was almost like a topspin liner or something because it didn't carry all that well. Sanchez missed badly with that one. But he's 0 for 1. Yeah, if you look at the numbers from last year, the last couple of years, really since they moved the fences in here at Comerica, and you see a ton of baseball in this park. Because you come here and look how much territory there is in the outfield, especially the center field, and you think, well, this is just a home run hitter's graveyard. But the numbers do not support that. Last year, this park rated as a very good hitting park and a very good home run park. And you know, the way they compile all those numbers, they adjust for competition level, and it's not just measuring the Tigers lineup, it's measuring everybody else who comes in here. So even though the dimensions can look big, this place will give up home runs.
And you're exactly right. That the play, and then we said this a number of times in the series, the park definitely plays small despite it being gigantic. But I think you bring up a great point in the whole analytics era that we're in. What a great way to evaluate each stadium by using that type of formula, using all types of data to combine with some really useful information.
And there's no team that has been or really needs to be analyzed more closely because of the ballpark than the Giants, because what we know about AT&T Park is it is now the best pitcher's park in the game. It is the worst hitting ballpark in the game. Toughest place for home runs, especially left. And there may be no hitter impacted more by his home ballpark than the guy who's at the plate right now in all of baseball. He smashes that one foul.
And a great point. I mean, to have to go up and over that big wall in right field and right center at AT&T Park, you get a lot of doubles and triples out of it. But for a big guy, first base, the position itself profiles. You have to provide power in that position. It's just tough to do at his home park.
He's still got a chance to get to 30, which the Giants haven't done since Barry Bonds hung him up, which is now a while ago. We are not in Denver when we're at home, that's for sure.
No.
The ultimate contrast in the National League West, where the greatest home run park, the greatest hitters park, and then AT&T, where, and look, it's not a complaint that it plays that way. The Giants have won a ton of games over the years. They've always used it to their advantage. That's strike 3 called. Bell thought it was ball 4. 2 down.
And it definitely is an advantage when you focus your organization. Really good pitch by Sanchez here. Might have been a little bit away. He's been around the plate all day. He's going to get that call. But to your point, the Giants were really smart to, once they get into this big ballpark, to really focus on pitching and defense and offense, bring the offense along. But pitching and defense can get you a long way. And what a great example of the last 7 or 8, 10 years of Giants baseball. Exciting, close games, and lots of wins.
Jae-Gyun Wong takes a ball. It's 1-1. He lined out to second his first time up. Runner at first, 2 down. Be a good time for Wong's second major league home run. Good pitch, 1-2.
Wong in the first 2 games was getting blown up a lot inside. They were putting the ball, a lot of pitches in on his hands, fastballs, breaking balls in on his hands. I was hoping to myself before the game that he would be a little bit more aggressive. First at bat he drove the ball shot to the right side of the field. I'd like to see a little bit more of that the rest of the game.
1-2. Right there on the inside, strike 3 called. So after the leadoff single, a couple of strikeouts, no runs, middle 4, 5-0 Tigers. play. The toe goes away. We go back to June of 2005. Giants at Comerica Park. And Tyler Walker, the San Francisco native, he came on in the bottom of the ninth with the bases loaded and nobody out. He struck out the next 3 hitters. Pud Rodriguez, who's going to the Hall of Fame this summer, Craig Monroe, Chris Shelton. First time since the save became an official stat in 1969 that a pitcher entered a game with the bases loaded and no outs and recorded a save by striking out the first 3 hitters that he faced. History for Tyler Walker, and I need to do a make good personally, because on the radio side the other day I was talking about the Giants' history here in Comerica, not just the World Series, and I remember that moment, and I think I blamed Tyler for the bases being loaded. I forgot that he came in having the bases already been loaded. I thought he walked them loaded and then struck out 3 in a row, but no, he was the true savior that day for the Giants.
Makes for a better story.
Well, it's a good story either way, but yeah, this way is the best way. First time since the save had been invented. McCann fouls that first pitch off. 5-0 Tigers. Jeff Kuiper reminds me that Jason Schmidt that day was going for a shutout. He was still in the game in the 9th inning. Gave up 3 straight hits. And all of a sudden it went from a chance for a shutout to a chance for a loss, and that's when Tyler Walker took over and got the save. That's a cool memory. Joe Nathan ended up, our friend Joe Nathan, who of course had been a Giant, ended up doing the same thing later that season. So it had never been done. Tyler Walker did it, and then Joe Nathan did it. That was the first visit for the Giants to Comerica Park. Yeah, you reminded me during the break that this park opened when AT&T Park opened.
Yeah, both beautiful stadiums.
They both aged extremely well.
Extremely well.
Like, to me, getting better and better with time. Some ballparks, they open up and they start to get a little dirty or dingy, or things start to look like they're not in tip-top shape. Some age, I think, makes them feel even more comfortable, more a part of the community, a part of the neighborhood. And I would say both of those, that's the case.
I agree.
I know it's the case for our park. I am biased. A shot picked by Crawford beautifully, and the throw a little bit high. Belt helps him out. 1 away. Nice play.
Really nice play. Good hands by Crawford. Easy to take Mr. Crawford for granted. So good. Makes everything look so easy. Such a fluid athlete with great feet, great arm. Just not an easy play, and he does it like it's nothing. Soft hands, pirouette, a little flip.
Omar Vizquel would be proud watching from his perch over there in the coach's box at first base.
He sure would. He's a fan of Crawford.
Dixon Machado, this is a day he'll never forget. Hit his first major league home run, his first at bat back in the 2nd.
Really good sign we're seeing from Stratton. He comes right out this inning, throwing strike after strike after strike. Being aggressive. Not worrying about the first 3 innings. Starting anew in the 4th inning here. Really good job of adjusting.
Getting ahead in the count really hasn't been the prop. 14 of 18 hitters, first pitch strikes from Stratton. 1-2. See if he can finish Machado off. It's 2-2.
And that's one of the biggest hurdles for a young pitcher, and we've talked about it quite a bit, is that first pitch strike. You're always afraid that any pitch you throw over the plate is going to get hit for a home run as a young guy. Until you go through, you say, hey, I make a good pitch. These guys are human. They're not going to hit everything.
That one hit pretty well to right, but right to Gorky's 2 down.
Pitching the contact is so important for a young pitcher and an older pitcher and any pitcher in between. Be it a little league pitcher, a high school pitcher, a college pitcher, you got to pitch to contact. This situation here, line drive out, going the other way from Machado. Stratton continues to pump the zone with strikes, wanting to pitch to contact, allowing his defense to work for him. 2 balls hit pretty well. Crawford and Hernandez make great plays. He's about to get out of the unit.
Kinsler crushed a ball his first time up, and Austin Slater made a really great running catch. So you don't like the strikeout?
Those are nice too.
Just checking.
Those are nice too, but when you can't have the strikeout,
yeah, not everybody can
nice
be
to have something else.
Bumgarner or
Chris
Kershaw
Sale,
or
my
Sale,
goodness.
Scherzer.
I saw Chris Sale the other night in Toronto.
Woo.
I don't think he threw a ball the whole night. At least it didn't seem like it.
That one is skied to left center. A little more routine for Slater.
Got in on his hands. Great job of pitching, Mr. Stratton.
So that's his best inning. Retires the Tigers in order. On to the fifth. 5-0 Detroit. Cavs from Las Vegas. First chance to see the Warriors pick Jordan Bell. Patrick McCaw is going to be on that team Monday, 5:30 p.m. Followed by Warriors Outsiders right here on NBC Sports Bay Area. Summer League hoops. Warriors Cavs.
Dub Nation.
Finals rematch. Minus LeBron and Durant and Curry. And,
Yeah, that's right.
you know, a few others. Brandon Crawford leading off for the Giants here in the fifth. All right, Chris Stratton had a scoreless inning. Maybe has started to settle down in this game. We'll see if the Giants offense against Anibal Sanchez, who is totally turning his season around, back in the starting rotation. He's pitching well today. Only 2 hits allowed. Crawford pulls it foul. I give Sanchez credit because this is a guy who he pitched against the Giants in the World Series in 2012, was great, even though he lost that game 3. The next year he led the American League in earned run average. He was one of the best pitchers in the league. And it's been all struggles since then. But he's a guy with a track record, a long track record. And he went to Brad Ausmus this year and said, I'm willing to go down to the minor league. He didn't have to go. I'm willing to go down to AAA and try to build up some arm strength. I want to be a starter again. I know that can't happen unless I go down there. And he did it. So good for him.
Yeah. Doesn't happen very often. Takes a lot of humility and a smart guy to evaluate his situation. He's not a reliever. His opportunity with all the different pitches that he does, his experience, his success in his experience has been as a starting pitcher. So to make that adjustment is admirable, number one, but pretty good athlete right there to be able to make those adjustments and make them stick.
The bullpen thing was not working. It was not working at all. It was ugly.
Lots of home runs. Everything was up in the zone. No life to the fastball. Honestly, he looks in better shape. I think he's lost 10 pounds since I saw him the first weekend of the season. Perhaps I was part of it.
2-2 to Crawford. He foul tips that one. Hung on by McCann. Strike 3.
Second strikeout for Crawford on the Mariposa. The eephus, the slower of the two changeups that Sanchez has.
There are not many pitchers like that in the big leagues.
Big looper. Pitching is an art. To be able to make the ball do that kind of stuff is amazing.
Here's Austin Slater. 6 strikeouts for Sanchez now. We showed the line score for, or his line from World Series Game 3. But he did his job. The biggest problem for Anibal Sanchez that night was that Ryan Vogelsong was on the other side. Vogelsong had one of his great starts with the Giants.
Boy, how many times did Vogelsong come through a great start?
Many.
My goodness.
But on the big stage, on a night where his counterpart was throwing the ball so well, they absolutely had to have it from Vogelsong. And that was also a night when Tim Lincecum came in and gave him, I think, 2 1/3 innings of relief. Tim had so many great nights in his career as well. But I'll always remember that one. It was so different from what he had done heroically earlier in his career. This time accepting the job out of the bullpen, and he was a weapon.
Yeah, I remember the 2 innings he came in Cincinnati, the Cincinnati series.
Yep.
Where he did exactly the same thing.
Same thing. Slater takes a borderline strike. He didn't think so. 2-2.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. I was right for once. I've been wrong. I've been wrong for 2 days.
StatCast strike zone.
We're not getting along too well, StatCast.
You're not the only one. That's a chopper to second. Kinsler throws out Slater. The only 2 runs the Giants scored in that game against Sanchez came in the 2nd inning. Look at that one.
Where do you get one of those?
Well,
You got two of them.
There were times in that game we're talking about, it felt like all the defense had gloves that side. I think Gregor Blanco made a couple great plays out in the outfield for the Giants that night. Blanco tripled in one of those runs, and Brandon Crawford drove in the other run. The Giants scored 2 in, I think, the 2nd inning of that game, and that held up the whole way through. Vogelsong, Lincecum, Romo.
Yeah. Some good memories, some good baseball, some exciting time.
That was a great game. Gorkis takes a strike. It's 1-1.
The guy with the big gloves down there, when you bring 2 giant gloves like that, aren't you supposed to have it on? Oh, he's got the beer in one hand.
Yeah, first things first.
Yeah, priorities. I see. My fault.
Yeah, finish that and then get that thing back on. It doesn't do you haul it from home all the way to the ballpark, carry it around. That can't be easy. Little check swing roller for out number 3. You better put it to use. What if a foul ball comes and you don't have it on? Okay, there we go. He's ready.
of the San Francisco Giants and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of San Francisco Giants Baseball Club, LLC.
5-0 Tigers, bottom of the 5th on this beautiful summertime afternoon at Comerica Park. Dave Fleming, Brian Johnson. Yeah, we got a mix. Giants fans, Tigers fans.
We can all get along. Coexist.
We mentioned it last night how the color schemes work together. A lot of orange on those Tigers fans here in Detroit, and there are people in the hotel were talking to us this morning about how many Giants fans they thought were here in Comerica. They're everywhere. Chris Stratton coming off a 1-2-3 inning, facing the 2-3-4 hitters. He misses with the curve. It's 1-1 to Avila.
For those that aren't familiar with this area, the big rival here is Michigan or Michigan State.
Yes, it is.
So
that is a fact.
That can tear a family apart.
Compared to that, these are best buddies.
That's right.
I saw a funny story.
There's a change up there from Stratton.
Yeah, there's a Michigan shirt, and here in Detroit, you see a lot of those. If you wear a Buckeye shirt around here, you're in trouble. There was a funny story because you know the big furniture store IKEA.
Yeah.
So they opened up an outlet in Columbus, Ohio. And their color scheme it's not quite Michigan colors, but it's close. It's the colors of Sweden, really.
Right.
It's blue and yellow. And somebody took a photo inside this brand new IKEA in Columbus, Ohio, of a giant bin of umbrellas at the front of the store. They were all yellow and blue, and not a single one of the bins were overflowing. And the tagline was, "I don't think they're going to sell a lot of these in Columbus, Ohio." You can't have that umbrella down there.
Blasphemous.
Way too close. Well, we're about a half hour from Ann Arbor, something like that, maybe a little farther. But
45 minutes.
Okay,
close. Due west.
Michigan Stadium. That's ball 4 to Avila. Leadoff walk.
Great news, Giants fans. Stream the Giants on the go. This season, you can stream every NBC Sports Bay Area Giants broadcast on your desktop or mobile device. Giants games streamed on the go on the NBC Sports app.
More Wolverines.
Kind of Cal Berkeley-ish.
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bear on the hat there.
A little bit. Very similar success level with the football programs these days. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Sorry. That's it. That's the only cheap shot.
Can't do that to the Bears.
Well, I can, and I did.
See, I grew up right next to Berkeley in Oakland, so I grew up with the blue and gold, so I can go both ways. You might have to learn that skill.
No,
You're still young yet.
I used to like you a little more. Justin Upton down the right field line.
Have I betrayed the brethren?
You have. That's the one no-no.
That's all right.
I told my kids, you can go anywhere to school in the world that you want to go. I will send you anywhere you want to go except for one place. There's only one off the list.
Not me. I have my younger brother, just graduated from Cal Berkeley.
Awesome.
Mark Johnson, straight A's all the way through. Fantastic job, my friend. Well, my brother, not necessarily my friend.
We both, hopefully.
Well, the dual role. You got to lead with the brother.
That one misses to Upton. It's one of the world's great universities.
It is. He had a great experience in there. So I'm all about the Bears and the Cardinals.
Chris Stratton, who was a Bulldog from Mississippi State. Great baseball tradition there, including a very close, important connection for the Giants.
Nice pitch.
Good pitch, called the ball. Yeah. We found one. There's not a lot of Cardinal hats around here. There's an old Cardinal football coach down the road in Ann Arbor.
That's right. Doing a great job down there.
Stratton's alma mater, of course, sent the Giants the great Will Clark, who barely went to the minor leagues. I mean, he was there for for just a matter of a handful of at-bats, really. A couple months worth of at-bats before he was in the big leagues to stay.
Legendary stroke. Great, easy left-handed stroke with great power to all fields.
One of the most beautiful swings, Will Clark, in the history of the game.
Yeah.
I do believe.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
And a guy who gave up the last few years of his career for his family. Otherwise, I mean, I really think we'd be talking about Will Clark as a Hall of Fame candidate. Yorkis Hernandez makes the catch.
Where did he end up with? Texas, was it? Where was he at?
His last year was in St. Louis, and he had a huge year for the. I mean, he retired coming off a great year, looking like he could keep going and keep hitting for a long time. He got some time with the Orioles and a bunch of years with the Rangers. Will told us a great story recently about Nolan Ryan, because very famously Will Clark's first major league at bat. We show it all the time on our Giants telecast. His first major league at bat was against Nolan Ryan. He took him deep to center field at the Astrodome.
That was legendary.
So then Will spends all the years with the Giants and leaves to go to Texas. Painful memory, I know, for Giants fans, but he goes to the Rangers. He was a great player for the Rangers. Nolan Ryan had just retired. He was part of the Rangers front office. And I think Will was in Texas for maybe 5 years. Will told us recently, Nolan Ryan never said hello to him. he was the starting first baseman. Crawford, what a backhand play, and the Giants beautifully turn 2. Nolan was not going to forgive or forget. Another look at that Brandon Crawford play. He can pick it, can he? I think Omar Vizquel was saying something to him about that as he walked off the field. 5-0 Giants. $25,000 fans at AT&T Park receive a grocery tote presented by MLB Network. Plus, you get that BART offer with the family offer from BART, sfgiants.com. Place to go. 4 tickets, good-looking tote bag. Giants Marlins, last game before the All-Star break, before Posey heads to Miami for the All-Star game. Span, first pitch swinging here in the 6th, lines a base hit to right center field. That's his first hit of the day. I do believe we were going to break and I said it was 5-0 Giants. That was a bit of wishful thinking. 5-0 Tigers.
Good job of Denard hitting a good pitch. Came in down, kept it down, line drive to the gap. Was hoping to get by Martinez for a triple, but not quite.
Tigers bullpen has not been good for the most part. I mean, overall, it has been a weak point of this team. So maybe the Giants can use the top of the order here, put some pressure on Sanchez, think about getting into that bullpen. Last night, Giants were up 5-0, and they had to sweat it out in the end.
Got plenty of time left. Lots of work to do. As we watch, Sanchez done a great job through 5 here. Top of the 6th. Historically, especially during his struggles, he's had a hard time getting deep into the game. Right around this time, he's had.
And we'll see. Panic gets one by Avila all the way to the wall. Span is going to be waved around. He was slowing up. And Phil Nevin said, no, you got to go. And he does, and he scores, and Panic makes it all the way into third with a triple. Denard Span was assuming that he was going to get the stop sign. And Phil Nevin, I think, started waving that arm and saying, go, Panic's coming. Giants get the run on the triple.
When you turn that corner as a base runner from second going to third, your back is to right field. You can't tell what's going on. You got to rely on your third base coach there. Good job by Phil Nevin. Nice job by the top of the lineup here for the Giants, putting pressure on the defense, hitting the ball around the yard a little bit, and got something going.
But now Pence infield will stay back in the dirt from Sanchez. So here we go. Giants are putting a little pressure on the Tigers starter. Their first run across. You got the big hitters coming up, and you can start to dream about not just getting that second run home, but a much bigger inning than that. Pence is 1 for 2. It's that one foul. Got a piece of McCann on the way back.
Those aren't fun. Get on his forearm, maybe. Not sure where that hit him. Shoulder, maybe. Yep. Right where the pad is not.
Found the spot. Not that the pad sometimes does a whole lot, but it helps at least.
Better than nothing.
That one chopped to second. Panic will come in to score. Kinsler makes the play. Tigers will make that trade, but the Giants get their second run across. It's 5-2.
That's right. Situational hitting again. Man on third base, less than 2 outs, trying to get the ball up in the air to the outfield. If you aren't able to get it to the outfield in the air, a ground ball up the middle will work just as well. Nice job by Hunter Pence.
Well, the Giants are off the deck. They've scored twice. Now Posey against Sanchez. Buster takes low. Tigers are going to get the bullpen going. Looks like Alex Wilson is warming up.
Pitching is such a hard thing to do, as we mentioned before the triple. Sanchez is having a hard time getting to the 6th and 7th inning.
And the left-hander along with Alex Wilson is Daniel Stumpf.
To think that the guy pitching so well might run into a hiccup along the way. It's hard to imagine. Still making good pitches, adjusting here. How about the job Chris Stratton has done the last 2 innings? Hung in there, hung in there, hung in there, has put up 2 zeros and kept the Giants in the ballgame.
Posey 0 for 2. He takes low 2-2. So Stratton's effort to stabilize after a wobbly first couple innings has given the Giants a chance. Where now 2 runs on the board, and they're right back in this game. 3-2.
2-2 change up there. Good job of spitting on it by Posey. I'm sure he's thinking, all right, I got 2 strikes and we full count. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to drive it somewhere. Try to make something good happen.
Strike 3 call. Posey thought it was ball 4. 2 down.
Just about an impossible pitch to hit. Great sinker, great changeup with a little sink action to it. Out of the zone and just nicks the corner, outside corner of the zone. Not much you can do about that as a right-handed hitter. Tough pitch.
Yeah, if the umpire's going to give that one, then you're toast. 0 for 2 for Brandon Belt with the shift on against him.
When you have a good changeup, sometimes you can throw it every pitch for a while and still have some effect to it. That's what Sanchez is doing at the moment, throwing a whole bunch of those.
On the outside with a fastball.
Again, the effect of having a good changeup. You throw a 90-mile-per-hour fastball, it looks like it's 92, 93 because your changeup is so effective.
That one hit right through the defense. So they played the shift against him, and Belt beat it. Belt thinking double all the way, hustling towards second. The throw, the tag, and not in time. Nice play by Brandon Belt. He sniffed out that double as soon as the ball left his bat, and that hustle allowed him to make it into second base.
Sure did. The same pitch that Posey struck out on just before. Low changeup. Belt stayed on it. Put the head of the bat on the ball. Got it into the gap. Great job, as you said, running right from the beginning and getting into second base just in time.
Well, now you're a single away from making it a 2-run deficit. That breaking ball way outside, taken by Wong.
Great time for Wong. He's ahead in the count. Be aggressive here. You know they're going to come in on your hands at some point. He was shooting for that left center gap here.
It's not like he can't do it. We saw him pull a home run in his first big league game, and a really impressive at bat in Pittsburgh against a hard thrower, Nicasio. He roped a double straight down the left field line. That's a foul ball, 1-1.
Good approach in that swing. Didn't quite get it. I like the aggression.
Two down, runner at second, 2 runs in for the Giants.
Hands are right in the zone. Nice compact swing. Can go the other way. Can pull it. Got a really nice setup here. Nice and loose on his toes. Trying to get those fast twitch muscles going.
Well, this is a spot where he has used that soft stuff. He threw that perfect changeup to Posey. A 2-strike count. We'll see. 1-2. And he got him with the fastball down. Giants get 2 and can feel like they're back in this game. Middle of the 6th, 5-2 Tigers.
Bay Area is brought to you by the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. By AAA, the July 8th Giants game is AAA Game Day. Come for fun and prizes. Follow AAA on Facebook for details. By Southwest, yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. By Jack in the Box. Come try the new sweet or spicy barbecue bacon cheeseburger and chicken sandwich. Limited time only. By Heffernan Insurance Brokers. Insurance and financial services for you and your business. Visit hefins.com. And by Toyota, the full-line automaker with the longest-lasting vehicles in America. Toyota, let's go places.
Nice crowd here in Detroit as J.D. Martinez swings at the first pitch here in the bottom of the 6th. Austin Slater makes another solid play in left field. 1 pitch, 1 out. Chris Stratton's got some run support now for the first time in this game. It's 5-2 Tigers.
Good break in that breaking ball and the curveball. His slider's been continuing to be consistent and staying in the zone and getting out of the zone when he needs to strike out. Tough day putting up 5 runs, but really a good job of adjusting and battling through a tough start.
Second inning, he was wobbly, and the Giants were having to think about options, I think, if Stratton was not going to be able to hang in this game, and here he is still pitching in the 6th.
And hats off to Bruce Bochy and Dave Righetti for believing in the young guy, give him a chance to give the bullpen a break here and learn. Nice pitch. And learn. You got to battle through the tough times. What they say, when the pitcher has 30 different starts to the course of the year, 15 or 16 of them are going to be a struggle, and you got to battle through them. So this is a great opportunity for him to work through it and get better.
And we don't know when Stratton actually found out he was going to be starting. I think he was on alert. Johnny Cueto had not been feeling well these last few days, so it wasn't a secret for the Giants that Cueto had been sick, but I think everybody still was expecting Johnny to pitch today. He just never has felt much better. 2-2.
I'm sure Cueto waited to the last minute, didn't want to give up his start, did everything he can to get out there, but at the end of the day, got to live to fight another day, right?
Yeah, inner ear infection too. If your balance is off, if you got no energy. That one is hammered to center, but Span is there. 2 down.
Yeah, those are no fun.
No fun. So, who knows? Sometimes maybe you think that helps a young pitcher. You don't have to obsess over it. It's his first major league start. You don't have to get nervous. But then again, starters who are creatures of habit and routine, and if an hour before game time, it's like, okay, get ready. You're going to be out there. Maybe that had an impact early in this game.
Yeah, good point. Both ways. Doesn't get a chance to prepare mentally or whatever process that he goes through, like you say. Yeah, good point. Could work either way for him.
But here he is still in the game. 1-1 to Alex Presley, who has 2 different RBI singles. So he's been a pain for Stratton. Getting a chance to start in center field today.
I first saw Presley in Double-A with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He had 2 home runs that day, crushed him, and I used to think he was a power guy, but actually he's more of a speed defensive guy. He's been up and down quite a bit. This is his 2nd stint with the Tigers, hoping to stick here for the rest of the season.
Is that a challenge for a scout? You see a guy on his very best day, not to always sort of have that one at the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. You need a number of games. It can be the other way too. A guy could punch out 5 times and be a great player. You got to be patient as a scout to evaluate the whole player, not just on one day, but through the course of 5 days at least. Try to get 5 days on each guy or each team. But through the course of a season, the developmental process, is he a young guy, 19, 20, 21, really learning how to play the professional game? Or if he's older, it takes time.
That's ball 4. Alex Presley draws a 2-out walk. That might be what gets the Giants bullpen going.
I think you're right.
You can see out there behind the left center field wall, Dave Righetti's going to the phone. We're a long way away from the bullpens where we sit, but some stirring.
93 pitches. This is the right time to start thinking about that. Again, to get into the 6th inning. Chris Stratton, you've done your team real solid, and see if he can mess around and finish this inning off and make it even better.
Big Kyle Crick starting to get limbered up in the bullpen. Two outs for McCann, who hits a hard grounder and picked by Wong. He'll stand up, go to second. Panic acting like a first baseman. Takes it. Another good defensive play by Jay Wong. Good job, Brian Johnson. Glad you saved your best stuff for me. John comes back after this.
Rado and Kelly Johnson bring you the happy hour weekdays on NBC Sports Bay Area. Also available to listen live and as a podcast on NBCSportsBayArea.com. And we welcome back our friend, Senor John Miller.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Kefe. We got a pitching change here for the Tigers. Shane Green on in relief of Aníbal Sanchez. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service. Your trusted oil change, tune-up, and repair experts. So there is Shane Green, and we saw him last night in the 9th inning. Gave up a hit and a walk, but ultimately was able to get through the inning unscathed, unscored upon.
Pitched pretty well.
Former Yankee, and he's done fairly well for the Tigers this year. The pitch to him is up and away. Green with a 3.35 ERA, 37 2/3 innings, only 27 hits allowed. The one area where he's had a little trouble has been with, he's had control issues. He walks a lot of guys, 20 walks in only 37 2/3. Crawford peels one foul off the left field line. 1-1. Brandon is 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts in this one. Aníbal Sanchez, 6 innings, 2 runs, 5 hits allowed.
Crawford won't see the changeup we saw from Sanchez earlier. See if he can take advantage of it.
2-1 now. Sanchez threw 94 pitches while he was in there. And I think at this stage in his career, Brad Ausmus is thrilled to see him go 6 and give him 90-something pitches and go to the bullpen. Crawford high in the air to the wide open spaces out there. Wrong place to hit it in this ballpark. Presley tracks it down. 1 away. That last pitch came in there at 95 miles an hour. And that's our fast pitch, brought to you by Xfinity, the fastest Wi-Fi at home and on the go. Well, Crawford, there's 2 ballparks where that one doesn't do much here, and his home ballpark, AT&T Park, and maybe Fenway Park. They've got that area out there just off the center field as well at Fenway. But he gave that one a pretty good ride as Slater fouls one.
He did, and that ball right there that Crawford hits to center field went further than his home run the first night here to right field.
I mean, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have gone 40, 50 feet deeper than the home run that he hit the straightaway right. Statcast said that ball was caught 398 feet away from home plate. It's 420 to dead center here, and he hit it to the right of straightaway center is maybe 428 to the spot where the center field wall meets the right field wall.
Austin Slater's had a couple tough games here. He seems to be swinging a little bit too hard, or harder than he was when he first came up, hitting the ball all over the field with some power. See if he can make an adjustment a little bit. Just kind of go with the pitch. Go where they're pitching it.
Well, maybe next time. 2 down.
Nice slider. Stayed up a little bit, hung over the plate. I think Slater was looking for something else harder away. Probably caught more of the plate than Green wanted it. One of those backup sliders sometimes can be pretty effective.
Gorkys Hernandez has singled and grounded out on a check swing, and that one spins in there for a called strike.
Probably the Giants' hottest hitter right now, making things happen when he's up at the plate. 2 games in a row over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks. Good sign.
And he's hit about 360 in that period of time, and the last 2 nights 4 hits in 7 at bats. Hit the ball very hard. Last night he had a bunt hit and a little infield dribbler for a hit. 105 miles off, 105 miles an hour off the bat for his hit in the 3rd inning today. Just almost as if to say, I can do that.
That's right.
1-2 the count. He got off to such a slow start. He had 2 hits in his first game in Arizona, and then he didn't have another hit for, I don't know, 3 weeks. You felt so bad for him. He just, it was about 0 for 26 or something before he got another hit. Green powered that one right by him. 96 miles an hour. Middle of the 7th, 5-2 Detroit. Break brought to you by T-Mobile. Pitching matchups coming up. Giants Marlins starting tomorrow night, Orange Friday, 7:15. Matt Moore for the Giants against Dan Straley, who's having a pretty good year for the Marlins. Saturday, remember, a 7:05 start. Saturday night, Jeff Samardzija, and the Marlins apparently have just not decided who they're going to throw yet. And Sunday, 1:05, the final game before the All-Star break. Matt Cain for the Giants against the young Jose Urena. And then Buster Posey will head off to the All-Star game. The Giants will go on their All-Star break hiatus. Here is Dixon Machado against Stratton. Stratton has settled in rather nicely after the rough first 3 innings. And Machado, who had one of the biggest hits for the Tigers against him, a 2-run homer, and it was a big fly into straightaway left field over the bullpen into the seats back in the second. And suddenly it was a 4-0 game. It had been 2-0. And the count is 2-1. The Giants bullpen is busy. Josh Osich, a left-hander, is up. There he is, number 61. And that snaps in there for a called strike. 2-2. There's real value to a team, even if it doesn't pay off in a win that day. If you can just give some innings and give a lot of guys in the bullpen a break, that could pay off the next day.
You're exactly right. And Dave and I talked about this quite a bit, is that also when you allow a guy to stay in there, work through the troubles, work through the struggles of giving up 1 run and 3 runs in 1, he learns from it.
Crawford out, number 1. Well, Crawford has been tested today with some difficult plays. Long throw just in time. Then a tough hop there, but he handled it. Another out. And that one in between hop, backhanded flip to start the double play. And Miguel Cabrera says, I'm never going to hit the ball to you again.
And, you know, talking to a lot of scouts throughout baseball, a lot of conversations about different teams. You share a lot of information. You ask a lot of questions. To a man, everyone completely admires the work of Brandon Crawford as a shortstop. They're amazed at how tall he is and how much range he has, how athletic he is, and how well he's swinging the bat.
Right off the end of the bat, Kinsler, Stratton over to cover. The feed from Belt, 2 down.
With Crawford, how well he's been swinging the bat. His body of work as a hitter, obviously he's having some tough times here, but his whole career up to this point, mostly a defensive guy when he first came up, really has learned how to hit like Ozzie Smith before him, like Omar Vizquel before him, really developed as a hitter and as an all-around shortstop. As I said, I think the first night, one of the best all-around shortstops in all of baseball.
And I think it was right here in the 2012 World Series where the baseball fandom and baseball people at large really came to understand who Brandon Crawford was. Sure. Because he made several outstanding Crawford-like plays in that World Series. And he went from being just some young guy out on the coast to being like, wow, he's one of the best looking shortstops we've seen.
Sure. Young guy doing that on the biggest stage underneath the brightest lights of the World Series. Very impressive back then, and he's been steady.
Avila with 2 down, nobody on. He is 0 for 2 with a walk. Stratton now thrown 103 pitches for the game. He gave up 5 runs, so the line's just not going to look good no matter what. But he's in the 7th with 2 down.
We talked about it earlier with the OPS versus the slugging percentage versus looking at the slugging percentage and the on-base percentage. When you just look at somebody's OPS, it doesn't say enough. Similar to this, Stratton gives up 5 runs at this point, but show me some more. Well, actually, he struggled through the first 3 innings, came back with 3 shutout innings after a tough start. That's more impressive.
There's a strike. And trying to add on a 4th shutout inning now.
Right.
here in the 7th.
Still pumping in, still throwing the contact. Dave Righetti guiding him through the whole way. Buster Posey allowing him to understand what he needs to do through the course of the game. Understand when he gets hit, how to make the adjustments. That's how you learn. You get no greater experience than having experience, right, John?
That's been my experience. That's the 5th walk allowed by Stratton, and with Upton coming up and Stratton over 100 pitches, Bruce Bochy looks like he's going to come out with the hook.
Great job. Really nice work.
When it's time for a change, Think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your trusted oil change tune-up and repair experts. We'll be right back. And Chris Stratton is gone, and another former Sacramento River Cat, Kyle Crick. So River Cats fans may have seen this many times in Sacramento at Rayleigh Field. The starter, Stratton, relieved by Kyle Crick. Crick, who I think has impressed some people up here as he gets his first look at the big leagues.
Yeah, I was impressed the other night when we saw him, and nice smooth stroke coming out with his live fastball, throwing strikes, keeping the ball down. Slider was nice. Had a tough slider one time, made the adjustment right away, threw some good sliders after that. A really good outing there. Small sample size so far this season, but looks like there's good things to come.
Well, he does not come on into an easy spot here. Justin Upton, the slugger, at the plate with a runner at first. Starts him with a called strike, and it's 0-1.
Feel good about your day, Chris Stratton. Did a really nice job.
That's a foul tip. Oh, and 2 the count. Upton walked in the first inning, stole a base, scored a run, doubled in the third and scored a run, flied out to right in the 5th inning. So he's 1 for 2 with 2 runs scored for the day. And a foul out of play. 27,210, the official paid crowd here at Comerica Park. Now, if Crick does not get Upton, then he's got to face Miguel Cabrera. So that's a nice baptism of fire to these young Giants pitchers, having to face some premier big league sluggers here in this Tiger lineup.
That's right.
Good experience. Here's the pitch, and low.
Baptism by fire, is that what they say?
I personally, I don't use that often, but I've heard it said, yes.
Yeah, I have to admit I don't use it very much.
That's a good one, though. If I was going to use it.
I heard it said.
Yeah.
Somebody says that.
Yeah. I'm going to start incorporating it. Good baptism by fire. Here's the pitch on the way. Right to belt. Kyle Crick gets a top slugger there to end the inning. Top of the order. Span, Panic, and Pets coming up. local Toyota dealer. The Giants trailing 5-2 as we head to the 8th inning. Johnny Cueto was a late scratch, an inner ear infection, so Chris Stratton was the emergency replacement starter. And although he allowed 5 runs in the first 3 innings, he settled in nicely after that and carried the Giants all the way through into the 7th inning when he finally was relieved by Crick with 2 down. So he turned what started as a rough day into a real positive. Anibal Sanchez, very strong, 6 innings, 2 runs allowed as the Tigers starter. Now a change. Bruce Rondon is on. Top of the order coming up with the Giants. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your trusted oil change, tune-up, and repair experts. Rondon, the hard thrower. We saw him last night in the 8th inning. Got the high strike there at 95 miles an hour.
Rondon did a decent job last night when he came in. Had some issues with his command throughout his whole career, especially early on this season. Threw well in the WBC, but really struggled to come out of the gate, out of the pen. They're hoping this guy will be their closer of the future.
Well, he profiles that way. He's intimidating, throws really hard. Back to the screen. At 97 miles an hour, that fastball. Span got a base hit to lead off the 6th, and that started a 2-run rally for the Giants. And for much of this road trip, he was the guy igniting the offense at the top of the lineup.
Gotta have that from your leadoff guy.
His average is at 289 for the year with his hit today. 340 on base average.
Some home runs.
He's got 5 big flies. And that's all. Not this time for Span after seeing that serious heat.
That's a new pitch for Rondon right there. Changeup. I have yet to see that from him. A good pitch to add to your repertoire. 88-mile-per-hour changeup is pretty impressive. Always has a good feel for his slider. He can add that to what he's doing. He can be really dangerous.
And I thought I saw Denard say, Brian Johnson, I thought said he didn't throw a changeup.
My fault.
Ball 1 to Joe Panic.
I'll take the bullet on that one. Didn't do my job.
Because you're moonlighting up here with us. 1 ball, no strikes. Panic hit a triple down the right field line and knocked in the first run of the game for the Giants back in the 6th. And caught. Ian Kinsler. 2 down.
Great play by Kinsler right there. One of the premier second basemen in all of baseball as well. Don't hear too much about him this year because he's having a tough time with the bat. Lots of range. Can make any play. Good arm. Good feet around the bag at second base. Nice play by a perennial all-star right there. In the grass, playing deep. Oh, almost missed it. Sinking line drive. Stayed with it.
It's almost for Joe Panic, just to get a little empathy for people who hit the ball when Panic is playing second base. Here is Hunter Pence. 0-1. Pence, another RBI today, was a ground out to get Panic home from third in the 6th inning. His 10th RBI on this road trip in 6 games. Pence is 1 for 3 in the game. We interviewed him last night after his 3 RBI game, and when we asked him about the 3 RBIs, he said, well, guys are on base. That is foul. And both guys seem to be happy that it was foul. Pence and then Castellanos, after he booted it, was pretty happy about it.
Yeah. It was interesting last night in the interview with Hunter Pence. He talked about in batting practice, because we had asked him if he's going to right center on purpose because he's staying inside the ball so well, driving the ball so well to the opposite field. Was he working on that? He said just the opposite, that he's been working on pulling the ball past the shortstop.
And Rondon powered that one by him at 97 miles an hour. Strong inning for the Tigers' future closer. This is Giancarlo Stanton and the Marlins. And tomorrow night, television, Giants Marlins, 7 o'clock, with the hour-long pregame live starting at 6 o'clock on NBC Sports Bay Area. This season, Giants games are available to stream live on the NBC Sports app. For up-to-the-minute Giants news, log on to NBCSportsBayArea.com for insider Alex Pavlovich. Miguel Cabrera to lead off against Kyle Crick, last of the 8th inning. 5-2, the Tigers on top of the Giants here. The left-hander who's been the closer for the Tigers lately, Wilson, up in the bullpen now. And Miguel fouls one out of play. He has gone 1 for 3 in this game. Justin Wilson getting set for the 9th in the Tiger pen. Giants Marlins tomorrow night, and that matchup will be Matt Moore versus Dan Straley. And remember, the Saturday game is 7:05 start. Jeff Samardzija will go for the Giants. We haven't heard from the Marlins about it yet. Pretty good pitch right there. 0-2. And then the Sunday afternoon game, Matt Cain and Jose Urena. And then we'll all send Buster Posey off to Miami for the All-Star game. Did he swing? Yes, he did. Plate umpire made the call himself. And Cabrera says, wait a minute. Are you kidding?
I don't understand what the complaint's about. It's a strike. Have a seat, big boy.
Yeah, it was just over the outside edge to begin with. But I don't know that he made a signal that he swung at it. It looked like he just called it a strike.
That's what I thought.
It's that little signal they make with the right hand indicating, oh no, you swung at it. And we say that kind of hesitatingly because the umpires in signals, it's like, you know, sometimes there's that one where they put their hands in the air, which can mean about 4 different things. Is he signaling timeout? Is he signaling foul ball? Is he signaling little help? What's he signaling there?
That's right.
Bring me some more baseballs out here. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to J.D. Martinez.
And quietly, Crick is throwing it really well. The ball is jumping out of his hand. Sliders snapping off really well. See if he can keep it up. Good spot. Great pitch.
Oh, Martinez unhappy. 1-2 the count.
Lower part of the zone. You call that a great pitch because even if he hits the ball, it's not going out of the park. It's not going anywhere. Most likely it's going to be a dribble to Joe Panic. Stay right there and be in good shape.
And that is a foul into the upper deck. Into and out of the upper deck. 1-2. Sun shining brightly in Detroit. It's what is it? 85 degrees now. It's gotten warmer as the day has moved along. And for Detroit, they say very low humidity. For me, it's humid.
Yeah.
San Francisco, we're used to humidity when it's 58 degrees. Base hit to right for Martinez. RBI Baseball 2017 returns with fast-paced, pick-up-and-play MLB action, packed with all your favorite MLB teams, players, ballparks, and much more. Get RBI Baseball today for PlayStation 4 and mobile devices. Learn more at rbigame.com. rbigame.com. Here is Nick Castellanos.
Still a good pitch by Crick. Stayed down in the zone. Continued to stay down in the zone. You get the best hitter on the other team, the cleanup hitter, the RBI guy on the other team, a sharp ground ball to right field. That's a good thing. Now you got a double play in order. Go back to working on Castellanos, get him into a ground ball, and that's a well-played inning. Keeping the ball down there is going to be good news for Kyle Crick. With that velocity and that slider, good things are going to happen for him.
Wow. Just a bit outside. So the wild pitch. Now J.D. Martinez is over to second.
Wild pitch. I think Buster's a little slow getting down on that play. Maybe wasn't anticipating it being so short a pitch, but that pitch got to be blocked. Man on base, got to keep him at first base.
So it's 2-0 now to Castellanos, who had a triple in the second, starting a 3-run rally. He's walked and lined out to center in his subsequent appearances. 2-0 the count. A mighty cut. 2-1.
You want it? Here it goes. My best stuff against your best stuff. Old school playground ball. Let's get after it.
So you do that. You do it again?
Sure.
Alex Presley, a left-handed hitter, on deck. 1 out. And that's a foul out of play. 94 miles an hour in on that one from Crick.
What are you throwing here, John? 2-2, sliders working, fastball's working. Castellanos hit the ball well earlier in the game. Your Crick right here, your Buster.
I feel like he just.
What are you going with?
I think he was just setting him up for that slider down in the way with that fastball and moved it back a little bit there on the inside.
I like it.
And that is out of play, off to the right, little pop up. 2-2.
You go back to it again?
I don't know. I didn't like the way he threw that one.
Wasn't his best, so how about we go back with it and he'll give us his best one this time.
Do it again and get it right this time.
That's right.
All right.
See what Buster wants here. He's thinking about it. Got a couple options. I think he's going to go with the slider. I think he hears us. Oh.
Just a little bit. Didn't get the low strike that time. 3-2. 95 miles an hour on that one, though. I don't know how Castellanos, with all the low strikes have been called, how does he take that one?
I don't know.
Maybe he took it because he was thinking he's throwing me a slider down and away again. 3-2 the count. There's that slider and a bloop. That's going to be an RBI. Span too late. Castellanos with his second hit of the day gets the RBI.
Tough breaking ball here. Nice pitch down and away, low. Castellanos does a good job reaching out and touching it. Catching in position is so important. We expect so much out of the catcher, both offensively and defensively, on any team. But the ball earlier where the wild pitch was scooted under Posey, runner's able to get to second base, that's where it comes into play. Bloop single would have been first and third. Instead, they get a run.
And here's Alex Presley, who's had 2 hits and a walk today, 2 RBIs. Giants have not been able to get him out. 0-1 the count. Now, do you think he took that fastball with 2 strikes that was right in there, but apparently just a hair low?
I'm with you.
And then he lunges out for that slider and hits that.
I agree. I think the fastball surprised him.
That one got by Buster, which surprised Buster because he couldn't believe he didn't have it. So another base given away here.
Should be a pass ball there. Not sure what they're going to score.
That's a foul tip. And that is all for Presley. Second strikeout for Crick in the inning. And here comes James McCann. Run is in. The Tigers ahead 6-2 here in the 8th inning. The Giants have Posey, Belt, and Wong due up in the 9th inning.
Really nice job of finishing Presley there with the fastball. Got to get out of this inning here. Don't want to give him any more runs. Keep him at 4. Keep the deficit at 4. Get the guys in there to start swinging the bat. McCann hasn't done a whole lot this series, kind of indicative of his season. He'll get a home run every once in a while, but having a tough time to move, get in the base hits in between. Again, lots of life out of Crick. Down, the 1 ball goes up and in. Really good life to it. 4-seam, straight fastball, 2-seam, sinking fastball. Everything is working for him right now.
0-2. And he puts him away. He strikes out 3 in the inning. But the Tigers get a run. And a wild pitch, a big play in that regard. Last chance for the Giants in the 9th. The Esurance Giants post-game live. Highlights, reaction, and analysis. And it's all coming up for a full hour right after the ballgame. Stay tuned. Comerica Park, Giants getting ready to head out of town here. Their second visit to this ballpark since they won the World Series here back in 2012. They came in again a couple of years later for interleague play, 2014, and now here in 2017. Here's Justin Wilson. It's no longer a save situation, but his manager is saying, hey, close enough. The closers were all warmed up on bringing him in. Buster Posey leads off against him. Ball one. Well, it's time for a change. Think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service. Your trusted oil change, tune-up, and repair experts. Buster Posey 0 for 3 in this one. A ball and a strike. Andrew Romine takes over for Castellanos, a defensive change over at third base. Romine, a pretty good glove man at many positions. 1-1 to Buster Posey, hitless in the series. And a pop-up. Here is Kinsler. Out number 1. Posey 0 for 10 in the series.
Andrew Romine for the Tigers coming in to help out Castellanos, the third defensive replacement. He's an interesting guy. He's 31 years old, can play any position on the field. I've seen him catch, I've seen him play center, I've seen him play right, all the infield positions. Really a valuable guy that I was wrong on. When he first came over here with the Angels, I didn't think he was a really good player. Didn't hit enough for me. It's a switch hitter, but he has really improved over the last 3 years. He's been here with the Tigers and really turned into a valuable utility player that can swing the bat from both sides. Give you a quality at bat, not necessarily a home run, but a quality at bat and some great defense. Pretty valuable off the bench.
Brandon Bell 1 for 3. Well, he decided it was close enough to think about a bunt there. They're not overloaded, and the third baseman Romine was still in the vicinity of third base, although he was backed up near the outfield grass. But he moves in 15-20 feet after Belt showed bunt there. Wind blowing in from right field, and it's really picked up as the game's gone along here. That's a high foul out of play into the upper deck.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they wouldn't do the shift here. I don't know what the reasoning is.
He's facing a left-hander instead of the right-handers that he's been seeing. It's really almost a conventional kind of a defense for a guy that you play to pull. Machado, the shortstop, is shaded toward the middle. 2-2.
Good job of laying off that pitch. Tough slider.
Belt has knocked in 8 runs in this road trip. Pence 10 runs in the trip. Giants down by 4 in the 9th. That's all for Belt. The Tiger bullpen have been very strong. The Giants have not put a man on base since Brad Ausmus went to his pen here. That was 97 miles an hour, that fastball.
A live arm. A lot of talk around town, around baseball, that Justin Wilson might be one of the guys on the move from the Tigers during the trade deadline. Pretty valuable guy, left-handed heat, able to do the late inning job.
And that's it. Wong thrown out by Kinsler. It's a 3-up and 3-down 9th inning. And for Wilson, he did it all on just 8 pitches. 6-2. The Tigers come back and take the series from the Giants. 2 out of 3. And for Chris Stratton, his first start ends up in a loss, but there were some redeeming aspects of his day.
Absolutely. Some good things happening in the loss. Doesn't happen too often, but it happened today.
And for Anibal Sanchez, more success against the Giants, even though he hadn't faced them in several years. He shut them down as he often did in the past. So Tigers win the series. The Giants win the road trip, though, taking 4 out of the 6. A winning road trip as they get ready to head home. 6-2 Tigers. Now stay tuned.